All right, let's talk about one of the most nerve-wracking things you'll ever do as a startup founder. Picking a co-founder is tough enough, right? But then comes the real stress test. How do you split the company's equity? This is a huge deal. If you mess this up, you could literally poison your company right from day one. So, how much equity should you actually give your co-founder? This question creates so much anxiety, and if you've been Googling it, you've probably seen a million different answers, and a lot of it conflicts. It's super confusing. Well, today, we're gonna cut through all that noise. We're gonna dive into some incredibly clear advice from Michael Siebel over at Y Combinator. Okay, first things first, we've got to talk about what Michael Siebel calls the negotiation fallacy. This is probably the single biggest mistake founders make. They walk into this conversation thinking it's a negotiation they have to win. Like their main job is to fight for their slice of the pie, to protect it no matter what. But that mindset, it's a total trap, a really dangerous one. In fact, Siebel says something really telling here. The second you hear yourself say, "That's what we negotiated," that's a massive red flag. Because look, as a CEO, your job isn't to beat your co-founder in a deal. Your job is to build a team that's so fired up, so motivated, that they can survive the long, hard road ahead. So you've really got two completely different mindsets here. On one hand, you have the negotiator. They're all about winning the deal right now, protecting their own stake. It's a short-term game. But then you have the CEO. The CEO is playing the long game. They're not obsessing over a few percentage points for themselves. No, their focus is on one thing: maximizing the motivation of the whole team, because they know that's what will actually build a valuable company. And this is the absolute key. You have to understand what equity is for. It's not a pat on the back for a good idea. It's not a payment for work you've already done. Think of it like this. Equity is the high-octane fuel for the incredibly long, brutal marathon of building a company. It's what keeps your co-founder running when everything is falling apart, and believe me, things will fall apart. Okay, I can already hear what you're thinking. Be generous? But what if I pick the wrong co-founder? What if they bail after 6 months and take a chunk of my company with them? And look, that's a totally valid fear. It's real. Co-founder breakups happen all the time. But here's the good news. There's a standard, non-negotiable safety net that every single startup needs to use to handle exactly this risk. So, your first line of defense is something called vesting. It's super simple, really. It just means nobody gets all their equity on day one. Nope. You have to earn it over time. The industry standard is usually a 4-year schedule. So, let's say your co-founder leaves after 2 years. Well, they only get to keep half their shares. It's a brilliant system that basically ties equity directly to how long you stick around. And then there's a really important piece that goes with vesting, the 1-year cliff. Now think of this as a 1-year trial period for the whole team. If anyone leaves or gets fired for any reason inside that first year, they walk away with absolutely zero equity. Nothing. It's a clean break, no mess. And this combo, the 4-year vesting with a 1-year cliff, this is what Michael Siebel calls your get-out-of-jail-free card. It is your ultimate safety net. It's the mechanism that lets you fix a mistake if you made a bad hire without wrecking your company's cap table for years to come. So, once you have that safety net in place, everything changes. The whole way you think about the equity split just flips completely upside down. You can stop playing defense, worrying about what might go wrong, and you can start playing offense. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because you have that hedge, because you're protected from the worst case scenario, it actually benefits you to be more generous with equity, not less. All of a sudden, you're not trying to protect the downside anymore. You're focused on creating the biggest possible upside. And what's the biggest upside? A co-founder who is absolutely insanely motivated. Generosity stops being a risk and becomes your single best strategy. And think about what that motivation really looks like. We're talking about someone who works late, who works weekends, not because you ask them to, but because they want to. Someone who's recruiting their smartest friends to come work with you. Someone who literally wakes up in the middle of the night thinking about the company. That's not an employee, that's an owner. And that's what you're trying to create. And this quote from Siebel just nails it. He says, "I want their equity stake in this company to be the thing that gets them to wake up in the middle of the night." See, the goal here isn't to be perfectly mathematically fair based on who did what last month. The goal is to create such a deep sense of ownership that their motivation becomes this powerful, unstoppable engine for the company. Which brings us to the final, and maybe the most powerful, way to think about this whole thing, this whole conversation about equity. It's not actually about percentages. It's really a litmus test. It's a test of how much you truly believe in the people you've chosen to build this company with. So let's put it to you. You now understand the safety net, the vesting, and the cliff. You see the incredible power of having a truly motivated co-founder. But what if, after all that, you're still feeling hesitant? You're still thinking, maybe I can just give them a little bit less. Well, if that's you, then you have to ask yourself a much, much harder question. And that question is, why are you making them co-founders at all? I mean, just think about that for a second. If you're not willing to give them a truly meaningful stake, why on earth are you making them a co-founder in the first place? And that's really the bottom line here. This whole equity conversation, it's like a mirror. It forces you to look at your own confidence in your team. If you find yourself haggling over a few percentage points, and that feels more important to you than creating a massively motivated partner, then you don't really have an equity problem. You might have a co-founder problem.